Issue 2, Michelle Bogue is in strife after sending out emails connecting our John Banks win to a second term for National. So let's get down to the nitty gritty. Who will win the Auckland Super City Mayoralty, Labour or National? Claudette, you're good friend Michelle Bogue has connected a John Banks win to a second term for National. Is it then true, if Brown wins, that it's a suggestion Labour can beat National in 2011?
No, it's not.
It doesn't go the other way?
No, it doesn't. It absolutely doesn't go the other way. It absolutely doesn't. And in
What's
fact,
not your strong point?
I want to hear why.
It's a little bit like polls, and and I predict.
Yeah,
You might scoff at that, but at the end of the day.
But why isn't it true in reverse?
Well, no, it's not true in the reverse. What this says to me though is that we will be in dire financial strife if we have a Len Brown mayoralty and a centre-left mayoralty. Financially, we will inherit quite a lot of debt by the amalgamation of the other councils, and now is not a time to have a centre-left council promising things to the communities that we just simply cannot afford.
Chris, you blogged on the fact that Brown hasn't ignited the imagination of the left. How half-hearted are Labour supporters going to be in getting out to vote for him?
Oh, that's his biggest problem, and I think it's the problem which will prevent him from winning.
Really?
I mean, if you look at the way the poll figures break down, overwhelmingly his power base is Manukau, and Manukau's record in terms of turnout is woeful.
Yep.
And in all the other parts of Auckland, if he's ahead, he's only ahead by a nose. And in a great many places, the North Shore, further south in the south, in the sort of rural area, Franklin and Papakura, he's well behind.
The Horizon poll puts him quite a bit ahead, though, doesn't it?
Well, Horizon is not really a poll; it's a kind of
how people
panel.
feel.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I'm not sure how much faith we can put in that. I think if everyone had to vote, as they have to in Australia, Len Brown would win quite comfortably. The fact that they don't have to vote, and the fact that more conservative voters are much more conscientious voters, gives the edge to John.
Can I just say something about that Manukau City as well too, though, at the local level, at the council and the local level, they've really split the votes amongst the centre-left as well too, and particularly the far left, because there's a lot of Pacific Island independents running as well too, and there's a lot of, there's the ABC party as well too, which has a very strong Pacific Island base, and that doesn't bode well for, citizen City Vision, who are also on the left. So, really on that
City
left-hand
Vision
side,
doesn't even run there. I mean, the problem that the left has is that in the last couple of years, Labour simply hasn't asserted its right to do what National does with the citizens and ratepayers. Basically, identify one slate, which is the slate you vote for if you want a centre-left council and a centre-left mayor. It's all over the place, at the local board level particularly, but even at the level of the wards. It's not immediately clear if you're a centre-left voter who the hell you're supposed to vote for.
I don't want to sound cynical, but Rodney Hyde and Stephen Joyce appointed the CCOs minus the consultation they promised. If Banks wins, should Aucklanders be concerned by this lack of scrutiny, especially when you consider Michelle Bogue, your good friend, Momentum's consultancy, are also responsible for appointing staff to the CCOs?
Well,
should we consider this lack of scrutiny?
Yeah, look, these are council-controlled organisations. Which means then that the local boards will also have quite a strong relationship with these CCOs, and it's up to those local boards to ensure that the community voice is heard.
But if they've been stacked beforehand, that's a hard ask.
The board members have been appointed, but according to the legislation from the Transition Agency, the local boards do have the ability to override their decisions and also to reappoint some of the board members.
No, I don't think that's right for them.
Look.
Quite honestly, I don't.
Look.
The local boards have very little power at all. Even the councillors, I think, have limited authority.
Because it's not
very limited authority. They can establish the direction of the CCOs, but they can't interfere in day-to-day activities of the CCOs.
You can't champion on fear. Absolutely not. Look, if you go back to the
not
legislation,
fair,
it
Claudette,
says
it's
that the
fact.
local boards
You know,
have the
fact.
ability
Something I think you should meet sometime.
to override some of these CCOs
You
and their
can't
legislation.
override the
Yes, you can.
CCOs. No, look, listen. And I'll
Look,
tell
the
you what the
local boards
CCOs are.
have- the local boards
They
have
are
the-
organisations
have the
which will
position
take their
to be
initial
able to
direction,
ensure that the
their initial
CCOs do
direction,
what the community
Claudette,
say.
from the council,
So,
but they are not
what
going to be
you're saying-
dictated to
no,
day by day by the council. That is simply
the
wrong.
local
And the
boards
local
have the
boards
ability,
have even
they
less
are
power
the champions
than the
of
council.
the local
You're
communities.
just wrong.
No, I'm not
You haven't
wrong.
read the legislation.
What you're saying is that you've totally wiped out the voice of the local boards.
Oh, you
and
finally worked that out. Well done.
Yes.
Okay,
no,
okay,
but
okay.
that's absolutely not
Let's
true.
take it.
Absolutely
Who
not
is going to
true.
win? Who is going to lose? Who's going to win?
Well, it's going to be a centre-right council for Auckland.
Who's going to win?
I think it is going to be a centre-right council.
Okay, ladies and
Well,
gentlemen,
thanks very much. At least we agreed on something.
coming up after the break, we're going to look at the two spins the government are playing with at the moment. This is Citizen A. Back after the break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Citizen A. We're reviewing the week with blogger and political commentator Chris Trotter and citizen and ratepayers candidate Claudette Hoiti. Issue 3 this week, the government came out punching that their GST tax rise is great and that allowing people to legally drive drunk is a positive. How effective was their spin this week, Claudette? So the GST tax rise being used to fund a tax cut for the rich will be great for New Zealanders on the bottom. How? And does the sudden rush to explain the GST tax rise suggest a panic response by the government?
Okay, so you've asked me, 3 questions there, but a tax cut to fund the rich.
A GST tax rise.
Absolute nonsense. Where did you get that from?
It absolutely is a
Absolute
tax cut
nonsense.
to tax rise there to fund those on the top echelon.
How do you know?
Well, because
Show us your facts and figures.
the facts and figures are on Temeki. You can go and look there anytime you like.
Oh, for goodness sakes.
So
But
you,
no.
you don't think this is a panic response by the government?
No.
Chris, John Key told New Zealanders they would be better off from his tax cuts and GST tax rise, yet the reality suggests New Zealanders will be worse off once other costs are taken into account. This could be the first time New Zealanders see Key as not being an honest broker. Is that why they're panicked?
Well, I've been to the website.
Yep.
And I've tapped in my figures.
Yep.
I'm better off.
Right.
I've gone to the website. I've tapped in household figures. We're better off.
Yep.
I suspect if you are earning less than my particular household, you might not be quite so much better off. And I'm not quite sure how Bill English and the people who have put together that website have calculated the cost of GST. If it's just GST, it's a bit misleading because there are a whole lot of other costs which are affecting people now, like energy and a range of other things which have to be calculated.
Yep.
So they may not be as well off as they thought they were going to be just looking at the website, but it's pretty hard to argue with the data. And most New Zealanders will be well off. The people at the top of the income scale will be the most rewarded. Yes. The people at the bottom, the least.
Smaller crumbs.
If any.
If any.
Right at the bottom.
Who wins,
but
who loses?
Mr. Trotter, you're not with one of these really wealthy people that Bomber is.
No,
that's right. So, I mean,
but I'm only $6 a week better off. I mean, I'm not exactly going to go out and roll in money like Scrooge McDuck.
But you're still not one of the
It's
people
funding a tax cut for those at the top, that's right. Who wins and who loses by the GST tax rise? Your mates at the top, your mates at the bottom, not winning so much.
Oh, look, if they break even, they'll be doing extremely well. That's the bottom third of income earners. But of course, National's not really interested in them because they don't vote National by and large.
Yep.
They'll be looking at the people in the middle, and the people in the middle will by and large be better off.
Claudette, the other spin control this week was the revelation that the government ignored advice that lowering the blood alcohol level would save 33 lives, prevent 680 injuries and save $238 million. What more possible research does the government need?
To raise the drinking...
to lower the drink
well, actually,
driving.
I'm of two minds of this. On the one hand, I personally think that they should raise the alcohol drinking age. On the other hand, I think that it's not so much about the age, but about the person. So there are some, ideological issues around that for me. So I'm I'm actually of two minds. I think that there are other issues that we could look at around that as well too. But in terms of just the actual age, there are some groups amongst the younger voters.
What about the level of alcohol in the bloodstream? Do you think that should be increased, kept as it is, or lowered?
Yeah.
Just one mind here, please.
No, lowered.
Lowered? You do think? Okay, so the government's got it wrong.
Yeah, I
can't
think there's a lot
understand
of
why
arguments.
Joyce is taking the position he's taking.
Right.
Frankly.
Yeah.
I mean, there is quite a lot of poll data, let alone from the medical profession, which indicates that New Zealanders want the blood alcohol level to be reduced.
The case is because National have spent so much political capital building up the nanny state political correct monster.
Look, I mean, I don't think Stephen Joyce is too perturbed about that. He says that there are many New Zealanders who are doubtful about it. I want to know who's been getting in his ear. Is it the AA? Is it somebody else?
Well, the booze industry in the last 2 weeks completely saturated.
Because I don't think it's ordinary New Zealanders who are objecting to this. I think there's obviously some group that matters to the National Party, matters quite a lot, which is saying to Stephen Joyce, no, don't do this. And I think it's a shame actually that he's got himself into this position, because I've got quite a soft spot for Stephen Joyce. I think he's one of the smoothest operators around, actually. And, I watch him operate and I think, God, you're good.
He's pretty smart, isn't he? Who wins, who loses by not lowering the blood alcohol level?
Oh, well, I think, in this particular instance, again, we all lose out on some aspect of this. There's really no winner. Might be some of the booze industries.
The best estimate is 30 people a year are going to
yeah,
die.
I mean,
over the next 2 years, that's 60 people. Now, putting it as bluntly as you can to Stephen Joyce, do you want to go round to each one of those 60 families and say, really, it was a good idea? At least I thought it was at the time. I wouldn't want that.
I'm of two minds, as you know.
Let's wrap the show with last word. Claudette, your last word this week is, of course, it's the big final rundown for your push.
That's right.
Yep.
We've got about 2 weeks left before the forms are due back in for the final counting on October the 9th, and it's really important that everybody exercise their democratic right to vote. And at the end of the day, I would like everybody to vote for me, and citizens and ratepayers. But as long as people vote, I think we've been a part of the process of this new Auckland city, and it doesn't matter whether people wanted it or not wanted it. It's here now, and so if you want to champion for the centre left or if you want to champion for the centre right, let's go out and do that. I mean, a no vote is not, or a no vote isn't a vote of not confidence in the super city. It's just a vote, I mean, that's just maniacal. So some people are saying, don't vote, and then that's your vote, and I just don't agree with that. It doesn't work for you? No, it doesn't work for me.
Chris, your final word.
Well, I think if the government loses next year, and with the Elections Act, I think that's a reasonable possibility, given that I'm strongly of the view that the Maori Party, if it's in a position to cast the swing vote, will go with Labour rather than National. It's time for the right to do what it did in 1936. Sit down and work out a better way of dividing up the responsibilities on the right. I would say go with the Australian model, a party for the country, a party for the city.
Oh, really? Major split. Thank you, Claudette. Thank you, Chris. Ladies and gentlemen, to my final word, the decision by this government to retrospectively remove funding for students who fail 50% of their courses is draconian and absolutely the wrong thing to do in the face of the worst economic crisis this generation ever seen. I hosted a debate at Auckland University on Monday about this issue, and a female student pointed out that she had had straight A's in her first year until she was raped, and then her studies suffered. This blanket, no exceptions, retrospective change will inadvertently hurt the most vulnerable of our students. Currently, universities will review a student who is failing, and if there are good reasons the student can continue study, then they'll allow that. But this exception, blanket, retrospective kick in the face of students won't create the productivity the government claim. It will end up negatively impacting those students who failed through no fault of their own. Those students deserve our support. They don't deserve being kicked out of education. On next week's Citizen A, blogger Cameron Slater and scoop.co.nz editor Selwyn Manning join me to debate the week's events. If you like tonight's show, please check out our Citizen A Facebook site. Thanks for watching whānau. Good night, Aotearoa.
supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.